So this is the attempt number 3 of this video, and it has nothing to do with the kids. And in the second attempt of making this, I talked about how I really need to be realistic with myself, and I wasn't this past month, even though I ended up trying to do 3 challenges. Overly optimistic is what I could say this past month has been. So I really need to get dinner on. I started this and tried to finish this before I needed to start dinner, and it didn't work out. So here I am. And again, it's like I said, there's just so much to discuss that I felt like I was all over the place in my last attempt. And in the first attempt, there was just way too many interruptions and distractions. It is snowing here in Indiana. And right now, the kids are down at the neighbors kind of playing in the snow, hopefully. So let me try to do this in a more condensed way, mainly because like it's already 4:30 and this video is supposed to be going up today, and it'll go up, but it'll probably be very late. And not only that, it may not load correctly, and so you may have 2 videos tomorrow, which I hate doing. But I really wanted the Vlogmas kind of thing going on. So let me just kind of jump into how November went. We had the 3 challenges, and I kind of talked a little bit about that in last week's video, which I'll try to leave linked down below. So we finished, today is November 30th, and the pantry is already being restocked because I have amazing subscribers and amazing family members, and we got a love box today from one of you, and it already put gluten-free flour back on our shelves. It gave us some honey and just a lot of love, and I reach out and I thank you. And not only that, we had another package come, and it had just fun things. It was just a fun package to open, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Unfortunately, that footage that I was trying to film for you, all you see, because I had my daughter do it, and I think she was just not paying attention. All you see is just the manila envelope the whole time, and sometimes my feet, and sometimes an item, but so it wasn't as good of a footage as I was really hoping. But we had a lot of fun with it. There was some tea that already my kids, actually, as I was filming last video, they were coming in and making tea. There was a little coffee in there, and I kind of tucked some away in case, the power was to go out, because all I'd have to do is heat some water over a fire, and it was really awesome. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And the pantry challenge, I think, really well, just to kind of use up what we had, because I'm from a place where food can go bad quickly, okay? Now, I know it's not the case up here, but because I'm so used to that, I like to rotate food out. And it's kind of like my back pocket thing to, hey, we really need to save money this month. Let's eat our pantry and freezer. And that may seem counterintuitive for some people. It might be like, well, why are you going to eat it out if you have to restock it? Like, won't that cost more money? Actually, not really, because I'm not going to go to the store and just restock the whole pantry. I pick up little things over time, and then over time I just kind of build it into the pantry. Like, for example, I went to the store yesterday and I noticed that a lot of the pastas were getting wiped out, so I picked up a few just to have on our shelves in case we needed them. Anyway, stuff like that. So all in all, I think it went really well. Did it save us money? Let me get back to that in just a minute. The other couple of things that I did was try to do the No Spend November, and I think that went really well, actually. The idea was not to spend things like on coffee and, things that wasn't really a need. And as I say this, it is November 30th, and I went and got a coffee from our local coffee shop. Because it's been a long week. A very long week. And those are just little things that after you work and you work and you work, doing something like that is just like a little pick-me-up, and it continues on. It may seem counterintuitive, I really like that word today, to buy something when it's like a no spend, but honestly I have found that just doing something small like that actually keeps that momentum going, because I'm going to be continuing that into December through Christmas season, holiday. Okay, let's go back to the whole idea of eating pantry and freezer to save money. I filmed a lot of the hauls for you, and I thought I was doing like a really good, realistic view for you. I don't know how much all of those ended up being, to be honest. I probably should keep notes like that. Just there's so much to keep track of with YouTube and homeschooling kids and all of that, that I just don't always get those done. So today I went, I pull out money every week to kind of do our budgets with, but there's always the debit card. And I did talk about this in the video that I'm going to scrap, but when we sold our house in California, we sold it for $50,000. We did not have any mortgage that we had to pay off on that. We had paid off our mortgage about 6 years earlier, and we lived tight and paid off our mortgage. And that's why I still think that I can figure this out and do this, even though things just look differently now. I have more kids now. I have 2 more kids now than I did then. And our income is a little bit less than it was then, but I still think I can figure it out. We still ended up paying a $38,000 mortgage off. And I still think it's possible. And the reason I did it was I kept telling my husband, it would be so nice to have that mortgage payment in our pocket every month. And you might be thinking, well, you came up with the money to pay off the mortgage. Why don't you just keep that in your pocket? Because when I sat down and calculated how much interest we would be paying on a 30-year mortgage on a house, suddenly a $50,000 house is worth $80,000 once you pay all the interest. We weren't going to sell it for $80,000. And the same thing with here. If we live in this house, we bought it for $88,000, and if we live in here, we did do a 30-year mortgage. We didn't do a 15. I'll talk about that later. We'll have paid way more money than we will be able to sell it for. To me, that is not a good investment, or that is not a good use of our money. So yes, I would like the money in my back pocket, but it also means that I'm working extra hard, extra long hours. I'm exhausted in order so that later on I'm not having to. Hold that thought. I have to remember why I brought up the mortgage. So I want to have that money in our back pocket, and it does mean working extra hard, but it also means that later on I won't even have to be working as hard, because then we'll have that money in our pocket. And so yeah, this month kind of showed me a lot of things. Trying to live small, trying to live in a small amount of money budgeted for this month. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I went to pulling out the cash, but then I went and looked at our debit card. Dave Ramsey always says to carry cash, and there's a reason for that. It's because it is so easy to pull out the debit card and then you're not really realizing how much money you spent. That is completely accurate, even in this case. When I made those hauls, I had no idea. I thought I was being completely accurate with you, and I kind of figured that at the end of the month I was going to have to say, guys, there was also another $150 that was just not recorded. I'm sorry. That's almost $850 that we spent at Walmart or some kind of grocery store. And if we're going to Walmart, most likely it's for groceries. There was a couple of times in there that was for like cars and household and stuff. So that's where I started. So when we sold the house and we bought this one, we didn't put all of the money that we had sold the house for on the on this house. We kept a cushion in our checking account because we knew my husband was going to go back to school. Well, it dwindled, between January and summer, it dwindled. And then the summer, we kind of built it back up again. And I've been asked how much this is, and I've been completely honest with everything else. So we had built it up back to almost $7,000. And now looking at this, when I thought I was doing a really good month, it makes sense why that is rapidly dwindling so quickly. Because the money is dwindling so quickly. I'm not being accurate with what we're spending. And so we have left in that checking account about $2,500. Now that is so much more than what a lot of people are thinking, that a lot of people have in their checking account. But look how quickly it's dwindling, and we knew this and we were trying to get on top of it. It also can dwindle rapidly when something happens. And in a large family, that always happens. We have been at a point when we've only had like a couple hundred in checking account after bills and all of that, just sitting there, and yes, something always happens. And so we've tried to do this to where we're smart, we're diligent, something happens, we're prepared in so much as possible. So it may seem like a lot, but it goes like that. And so we have always tried to live with the budget money. We try not to count on that, because one year the car was totaled. We had to buy a new car, and the new car cost a lot more than the old car's, value. So that ate away all of our savings. And so that's kind of this whole idea in living small and living real. And I know not everybody has that, which is also why when I'm trying to share what we did, you kind of get an idea as well and are encouraged and kind of build up. So I need a drink. So yeah, 850 is kind of an eye-opener. I really thought it was going to be maybe top 300. Oh my. So already 15 minutes. What it's going to look like kind of moving forward. My income this month, I only have 3 babysitting paychecks and a $17 Amazon check from affiliate work. And you might be saying, well, wait a minute, don't you have a kid that you get paid for homeschooling and all of that? Yes, and I had a smaller paycheck this month that wasn't recorded, and that is because it had to pay for my husband's glasses and fixing my son's teeth. So that was gone about a week after I got it. And so I think I've already talked about this, but now I have another job. Actually, I have a couple other jobs that have come in, and we're just going to be working with that as much as possible. But again, we're looking at my husband not bringing much money for another 6 months. And if in the last 4 months our bank account has gone from almost $7,000 to $2,500, trying to be diligent and mindful of what we're dealing with here, can you imagine what the next 6 months is going to be? So that's just kind of where we're at right now. And I don't know how I can stand here and help you. Honestly, I have shed way too many tears these past couple of days of just this weighing heavily on my heart, really thinking that I have been a blessing to my husband and to our family, and kind of seeing that I wasn't doing as well as I thought. I know that I do bless my family in other ways and in many ways, but honestly, this wasn't my better things, my better ways. And I know that we really are a family that is blessed. And I want to show you an ace I have up my sleeve. So this is November's budget that I walked over with you last month. If you see, I have scratched out, let's see. I have scratched out electricity because when we opened an account with our electricity people here, you had to pay $250 down. And then I guess after a certain amount of months, you are credited $250 off of your electric bill. So right now that money that we have paid down is actually going into our bills for the next couple of months. So last month we didn't have a bill. This month we don't have a bill. So that's very helpful. And they've been about $100. So next month's bill is going to be about half is what I am assuming. But I also want to point out something else. So my husband was working on bills last night, and I don't have the last paycheck, which is why I couldn't do anything. But I wanted to point out this, like you've seen all this already, but I really wanted to point out our mortgage payment there because I have an ace up my sleeve. I did this all those years ago when we were paying off our mortgage, and then, so you might have figured out what the ace is already. But I started writing out this month's bills. And do you see the mortgage payment? How did you get your mortgage down to $300? So when we started making mortgage payments, when we bought this house, we said we're going to pay $500 every month. Our mortgage payment is $255 or $250 something, $253, something. And we're like, let's pay $500. Let's just keep paying it until we can't anymore. And we did that because if we did a 15-year loan instead of a 30-year loan, if it came to a really tight month and it was really hard to come up with that mortgage payment, we couldn't pull my ace out of my sleeve. So we did the 30-year, but kept paying it off as quickly as possible, like it was a 15-year loan. And so now this month we're only paying $300, and the extra money that we put on goes towards principal. Like you have to mark it, pay towards principal. So this month it's only $300, so I have a $200 kind of cushion right now, and that's just what we're gonna do for this month. I'd like to get back up to $500 in January and kind of, again, pay it off as quickly as possible. Pay off the house as quickly as possible is what I mean. And that'll just look a little differently for us. And that's the ace I have up my sleeve to kind of help us in this next month. So that's kind of what I'm going to do to help us this month. And like I said, I have a couple of jobs now. That money's not going to be able to be budgeted until January. But right now, like sitting down and really working the budget and really trying to think, could you have done anything different? Could you have done anything better? I don't think there's any regrets that I have in what I have done this month. I sound like I'm about ready to cry. I'm really not. I'm just losing my voice. I think all the kids are coming home. I did the best I could. I sit here and I make these videos to you because years ago there wasn't any of that for me. And it was really hard to figure out this on my own. It was really hard to find the motivation to constantly do that because there really wasn't. There was Dave Ramsey and there was Money Saving Mom. And I can't live on beans and rice. Last night I had made soup for my husband, and I just had that one last can of beans, or the container of beans that you've seen in my freezer. I just put that in the soup. And an hour after dinner, I was just like, honey, what's wrong? Like, I knew something was bothering him. It wasn't just a emotional thing. He's just like, I haven't really felt well after that soup. And I'm like, the only thing about that soup that's different than any other soup I've made is that I had put white beans in it. And it wasn't just a physical kind of he didn't feel right. He didn't feel well. It started to affect him emotionally as well. And just beans do not work for our family. And so I can't live like that. I can live to the best of my abilities, but I can't live like that. And so a lot of the videos that were like, hey, let's eat pasta, let's eat this, I'm like, it's not cheaper for me to live on pasta. It's not cheaper for me to do that. It's not cheaper. this is why these videos weren't available to me then. And even this past month of watching so many extreme budget videos, like with all the grocery hauls and how you're going to live off of $20 for X number of meals, those are all really great. But if we ate like that continually, we won't feel well. And is that really worth it? If you don't feel well, then you don't have the energy, you don't have the motivation to do anything else. Sorry. So I'm sitting here, my husband will be home soon, and I'll be able to do the last little bit of this video by kind of working all of the bills out and paychecks and all of that. And another thing I'm trying to work on is creating a month calendar. This one got spilled coffee all over it. But just try to live small and simply as possible. I really don't think I can do much more than I am already, but I'm always open to your comments down below. Any suggestions down below. Yeah, that'll be a wrap up for this month's kind of budget talk and things like that, working towards the next budget. So moving forward, I still want to go back to buying a month at a time. I really do think that would be better for the budget. I still like to keep an eye out for meats that go on sale. And I don't know what else. I think I'm just going to leave the video at this. I really don't know what else to do. I'm going to be more careful at the wheat that we've been eating. We've definitely had more, and I'm starting to notice it a lot. And yeah, these videos are meant to be an encouragement to you, and I've had many of you reach out and say that they have been, and I'm very grateful. And I know this content isn't helpful to a lot of people. It's just me rambling and talking, and that's fine. Like, I'm not making you watch these videos, so you can turn them off at any time you want, and that's fine. And then some of them watch and then throw out suggestions, and those are really helpful too. So take this video as you will. This is a wrap for the men's game challenge. I probably will continue this on through December, but not necessarily trying to get rid of a certain amount each month, but just really kind of thinking about things we have and if they are useful in our lives. And I will try to share kind of what comes in and what goes out. The Christmas gifts we have chosen very specific gifts that will fit our family, not just something to be wrapped and placed under the tree. Like, I didn't just go and say, okay, here's a toy, let's wrap it and put it under the tree. I was very intentional, and I'm trying to think of some other things that I wanted to address in this video and I forgot. Oh, the Christmas fund envelope. I was trying to sell things every month or throughout the month to kind of bulk up that Christmas fund envelope. And towards the end of the month, I just couldn't find anything really to do it. I feel like I did a really good job. I bought hubby's 2 new tires that he really needed for the truck, so I feel really good about that. Okay, I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Tomorrow I will show you the last of the what we ate dinners or meals. I'm trying to clean out the pantry. Should I continue those? Leave them down below. Should I continue kind of sharing, even though we don't necessarily have like the clean your pantry challenge anymore? I don't know. Leave it down below. And anyway, we'll kind of see what goes on from here in this next month. I'll see you next time.